In life, we all encounter moments of pressure, whether it's the deadline we must meet, the confrontation we must face, or the responsibility that weighs heavy on our shoulders. It's in these moments that we need to stay calm, centered, and focused. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 powerful rules to help you remain calm under pressure. First, understand the pressure. Recognizing that pressure is a natural part of life and not something that defines us is the first step toward mastering it. Pressure comes in many forms, but it's important to know that it's not the pressure itself that overwhelms us, it's how we react to it. When you face a challenging situation, take a moment to acknowledge the pressure. Name it. Recognizing it will immediately reduce its power over you. Second, practice mindfulness. In the midst of chaos, the best thing you can do is to stay present. The mind often races, worrying about what might happen next. But in those moments, remind yourself to ground your thoughts in the present moment. Focus on your breath, the task at hand, and your immediate surroundings. Mindfulness helps you stay clear-headed and calm, enabling you to make decisions from a place of clarity rather than fear. Third, embrace deep breathing and centering. When stress builds up, our breath becomes shallow and our thoughts become scattered. This is where deep, intentional breathing comes into play. Take a few moments to breathe deeply, inhaling through your nose and exhaling through your mouth. This simple act slows down the heart rate and helps recenter your body. When you're calm physically, your mind follows suit. Fourth, remember the power of a pause. When things feel overwhelming, resist the urge to react immediately. Sometimes all it takes is a brief pause to regain control. Step back for a moment, breathe, think, and choose your response with intention. This pause allows you to move forward with clarity, making better decisions and preventing rash reactions that could lead to regret. Lastly, trust in your ability to handle it. You've navigated difficult situations before, and you will do so again. Trust yourself to rise to the occasion. Remind yourself that you have the strength, wisdom, and resilience to handle whatever comes your way. Confidence in your own abilities is a powerful tool to combat pressure. Ladies and gentlemen, staying calm under pressure is not about eliminating stress or avoiding challenges. It's about learning how to control our response to them. When we understand pressure, practice mindfulness, breathe deeply, take pauses, and trust ourselves, we can navigate even the most intense situations with grace and poise. Remember, calmness is not the absence of pressure, but the ability to remain centered within it. Pressure is a force that we all experience in different forms, and it is something that is inherently part of our daily lives. It can show up in a variety of ways: work deadlines, personal expectations, financial concerns, or even the weight of responsibilities that seem to mount over time. Pressure can feel overwhelming, and at times it can feel as though it has the power to control us. But the truth is, pressure is not an enemy to be feared. It is an experience that can be managed when we understand it. The first step to staying calm under pressure is recognizing exactly what pressure is and how it affects us. Pressure in its simplest form is a feeling of stress or anxiety that comes when we are faced with expectations or challenges that seem too difficult to handle at the moment. This feeling often triggers a physical response in our body. Our heart rate may increase. We may start to sweat. Our breathing becomes shallow, and our thoughts start to race. These are natural responses that are deeply ingrained in our biology, our body's way of preparing for a challenge or danger, often referred to as the fight or flight response. However, in most situations of pressure, there is no immediate danger. The challenge is usually mental, not physical. It's the pressure we feel from external sources, like work, family, or society, that often overwhelms us. And while these external pressures may seem beyond our control, what we often fail to realize is that it's our reaction to pressure that determines how we experience it. It's not the pressure itself that causes us the most distress, but how we respond to it. When we acknowledge pressure and understand that it is a natural part of life, it begins to lose its power over us. If we view pressure as an external force we have to fight against, it can create feelings of helplessness or panic. But when we realize that pressure is simply a part of the human experience, it becomes easier to accept and manage. Rather than seeing pressure as something to avoid or fear, we can begin to see it as a challenge to navigate and learn from. One of the most effective ways to manage pressure is to reframe our mindset. Instead of telling ourselves, this is too much, or I can't handle this, try shifting the narrative to, I can handle this, or this is challenging, but I am equipped to deal with it. Reframing pressure in a positive light can significantly reduce its negative impact. When we approach pressure with the belief that we are capable of handling it, we can maintain a sense of control and calmness even in the face of difficulty. It's also important to recognize that pressure is often self-imposed. In many cases, the pressure we feel is not only a result of external factors, but also stems from our own expectations. We may feel the need to be perfect, to succeed in every endeavor, or to meet the expectations of others. This can add a layer of internal pressure that can be just as, if not more, overwhelming than external sources. In these situations, it's crucial to remind ourselves that we don't need to have everything figured out all at once. It's okay to not be perfect. And it's okay to take things one step at a time. Taking the time to identify where pressure is coming from, whether external or internal, helps us to better understand its source and how it affects us. Once we have a clearer picture of the pressures we're facing, we can take intentional steps to reduce their impact. For example, when dealing with an overwhelming deadline, break the task down into smaller, more manageable pieces. Focus on the immediate next step rather than the entire project. This can help reduce the sense of being overwhelmed by a large, seemingly insurmountable challenge. Recognizing pressure as a part of life and understanding its source allows us to approach it with a greater sense of control. It gives us the opportunity to take a step back, assess the situation, and choose how we respond. When we respond thoughtfully and with a calm mindset, we are far better equipped to handle the challenges that pressure presents without being consumed by them. In moments of intense pressure, our minds can become overwhelmed with swirling thoughts, worries, and distractions. These mental patterns often make the situation feel even more intense, creating a cycle of stress that only amplifies the pressure we are already feeling. This is where mindfulness comes into play. Mindfulness, which is the practice of staying present and fully engaged in the current moment, is one of the most powerful tools we can use to remain calm under pressure. When we practice mindfulness, we break free from the chaos of our racing thoughts and reconnect with the reality of the present moment. The first step in practicing mindfulness is to understand that it is not about avoiding or pushing away our feelings of pressure or stress, but rather it's about being fully aware of them without letting them take over. Often when we experience pressure, our immediate reaction is to push against it, to fight it, or to wish it away. We think that if we ignore the pressure or pretend it doesn't exist, it will go away. But in reality, when we fight pressure, we only intensify the experience. This is because by resisting the present moment, we create a deeper sense of frustration and anxiety. Mindfulness, on the other hand, teaches us to accept the present moment for what it is. When we practice mindfulness, we acknowledge the pressure, the stress, and the discomfort, but we do not allow these feelings to define us or control our actions. Instead of getting lost in our thoughts about what could go wrong or worrying about what's ahead, we focus our attention on what is happening right now in this moment. By doing so, we reduce the mental noise that often escalates pressure and allows us to see the situation more clearly and calmly. One of the simplest ways to practice mindfulness under pressure is to focus on our breath. Breathing is something we do automatically, but when we bring our attention to it, it can become a powerful tool for regaining control. When we take slow, deep breaths, we activate the body's relaxation response, which counteracts the stress response. This helps to calm both our mind and body, allowing us to approach the situation with a clearer, more grounded mindset. By focusing on the breath, we redirect our attention away from the overwhelming thoughts and feelings that may be clouding our judgment. In addition to focusing on our breath, another important aspect of mindfulness is grounding ourselves in our physical surroundings. When pressure mounts, our minds tend to race, but by focusing on what is physically around us, we anchor ourselves in the present moment. For example, if you are in a stressful meeting or facing an overwhelming situation, try taking a moment to notice the sensations in your body, the feeling of your feet on the ground, the weight of your body in your chair, or the sound of your breathing. By paying attention to these small, grounding details, you bring yourself back to the present, helping to reduce the feeling of being swept away by the pressure. Mindfulness also encourages us to become aware of our thoughts without becoming attached to them. Under pressure, our minds often race with negative thoughts or worst-case scenarios. These thoughts can become so overwhelming that they drown out our ability to think clearly or make rational decisions. However, mindfulness allows us to recognize these thoughts without getting lost in them. By observing them as they come and go, we can release their hold on us and focus on the task at hand. For instance, when negative or anxious thoughts arise, instead of allowing them to dictate our behavior, we can acknowledge them and gently bring our focus back to what we are doing right now. Practicing mindfulness also means being kind to ourselves. Often, when we're under pressure, we become our own harshest critics, believing that we should be handling everything perfectly or more efficiently. This inner criticism only adds to the pressure, making it even harder to stay calm. Mindfulness invites us to treat ourselves with compassion, recognizing that we are doing the best we can in the moment. By offering ourselves grace and acceptance, we free ourselves from the added burden of self-judgment, which only intensifies our stress. In the end, mindfulness is about shifting our relationship with pressure. Rather than seeing it as something to fear or fight against, we learn to navigate it with awareness, acceptance, and self-compassion. By focusing on the present moment, we stop the cycle of anxiety and allow ourselves to act with clarity and confidence, no matter how intense the pressure may be. Mindfulness teaches us that we can be in the midst of pressure, yet remain calm, centered, and in control, capable of facing any challenge that comes our way.